While protesters throughout Kenya began an anti-government rally the day after Kenyan President William Ruto succumbed to popular pressure and decided to drop the contentious financial law that had provoked widespread discontent. Analysts say that while the financial law sparked the protests, they are now about general displeasure with the administration. Police battled with protesters in Nairobi, throwing tear gas and firing rubber bullets. Protests also occurred in Kisumu, Migori, Kisii, Nakuru and other areas. The Kenyan National Commission on Human Rights stated that it had credible reports of the firing of live rounds on civilian demonstrators, resulting in some deaths. There were demonstrations earlier, and here we have the President William Ruto paying condolences to those who lost their lives during the protest.
We currently have a president who is not a president. This president, William Ruto, is following his orders, not the constitution. The constitution states very well that the government is the rule of the people, by the people and for the people. And now we're going to change Kenya to be the rule of the youth, by the youth and for the youth.
On my own behalf, and on behalf of these members and many other Kenyans, I send my condolences to the families of those who lost their loved ones in this very unfortunate manner. I concede, and therefore I will not sign the 2024 finance bill, and it shall subsequently be withdrawn. And I have agreed with these members that that becomes our collective position. I am directing for immediate further austerity measures to reduce expenditure, starting with the office of the president, the entire presidency, and extending to the entire executive arm of government. Operational expenditure in the presidency be reduced to remove allocations for the confidential fort, reduce travel.
Well, to look at some of the issues, we are now being joined by Paul Ejime, who is an international analyst. He joins us from London. Welcome to the program, Paul. Good to have you join us. Now, first, let's start with ECOWAS, who is proposing to handle the issues in the West African bloc. You just heard from that clip there, with a budget of about $2.6 billion. What do you make of ECOWAS stepping in to reduce sort of the tension in the West African bloc?
Thank you, Olije, and good evening, viewers. So I think I hope ECOWAS leaders and the leaders of all the countries there do not make this mistake again. You remember what happened when they wanted to deploy troops to Niger. What happened to it? It failed. And here, if the standby force they are talking about is the one to fight terrorism, yes, I think everybody will go for it, because terrorism is, national and international crisis threat that whatever you can use to put it out is understandable. But if it is about combating unconstitutional change of government, I wonder how that is going to happen, because it will amount to trying to fight fire with fire. And this grows, I believe, from the knee-jerk reaction of some leaders who are afraid because of the coups that are happening, that they feel their positions are threatened, and so they want something they can fall back on. Because when you have a standby force, it will now come and it will only be used to prop them up. You do not, for Christ's sake, you are in the democracy. And now you are going to, you say you hate military coups, you hate military regime, and you are now going to use military to go and prop up a civilian administration. It's, you can see the kind of contradiction there. So, and by the way, where is that money coming from? If they are hoping that it will come from development partners, I doubt if that is going to fly. Because at the moment, look at the economic situation of most of these countries. Some of them cannot even pay their community levy to ECOWAS. and then you are asking them to raise this kind of amount. And is that insecurity? Yes, that is a priority. But the solution to all this is good governance. The solution to wanting to fight using kinetic force to go and install and enforce and then impose regimes that are not delivering on the dividends of democracy, it is not using kinetics. It is by delivering on the mandates. What you ask, what is happening in Kenya? The people, the Jews came out, and you had Ruto conceding, because how many people can you kill? You are deploying using money. Do you know what it will cost to equip the logistics that this standby force will use before you can? Why are you wasting money on that instead of really doing the needful, giving good governance and good leadership? That is what will save. That is the solution to much of the crisis that ECOWAS and some of the African countries are going on. It is not by heavy weaponry or trying to, devote. Look at the large amount. Meanwhile, you, instead of projects that will provide, that will move people from poverty, who will benefit from this? It is the defense industries in outside West Africa, because you don't produce weapons. They are going to buy them from outside. So I think it is a wrong-headed decision. It is ill-advised. If it is fighting, terrorism or whatever, fine. But adding this idea of using it to come and combat on change of unconstitutional, because unconstitutional change of government is not only by the military. The civilians, the civilian heads are the ones. When you rig elections, when you change their constitutions without consultation, like has happened in Togo and other places, when you go for third term, that by changing constitution, when you violate human rights, these are all changing of government through unconstitutional means, and should carry the same punishment, the same consequence as a military coup. But looks like ECOWAS leaders are not looking at it that way. But I think it is ill-advised, and they have to look at it. I know that the summit is coming on the 7th. It will be rolled back. I can, just like they were unable to follow through with the invasion of Niger. That's my theory.
So for you, that's a misplaced priority. Now, do you think the protest in Kenya is way beyond a tax hike? Because besides the lives being lost, rest their souls, it seems like it goes beyond just the tax hike, because as we speak, there are still protests. There are still youths, clamoring for issues with the government. So let's hear you speak to that.
It's a culmination of so many things, combination of so many things. And like dynamite, dynamite, they come in small pieces. It's not a huge thing. They start to grow, from one step after another, and then one little thing. Remember the Arab Spring that started in Tunisia? It was just a young man who, after school, could not find job and was now selling on the streets. And then the security people came there and started harassing them. He set himself on fire. That was what set off the Arab Spring. So I agree with you that this was just the turning point. It got to explosion point when the people thought they could no longer take it. And I think there is a lesson for every African country here, that you cannot continue to ride roughshod over the people. You cannot take the people for granted. And the people also have to take back the power from these people. You can see, if they didn't come out in the way they have done, perhaps the parliament, 195 of them out of 300 and something had already passed it. Like in Nigeria, where, things just go on and everybody is watching as if, nothing has happened. Meanwhile, everybody, like Fela will say, is suffering and smiling. You have to hold these leaders to accountable. And that is what has happened in Kenya. It happened in Burkina Faso in 2014 when the people, poured out on the streets, more than 1 million of them, and chased out the government of Campari. And many more will happen if it is just a matter of time. It's not when, but it's not if, but when. Because the way they are going, the way the politicians are going, they think that they are there to be served, not to serve the people. What did it take? What did it take more than? What did it require more than 20 Kenyans to die before Ruto would come and realize that overtaxing people who are already under the weight of economic crisis is not the way to go. It's what is happening in other parts of Africa, but it's a warning sign. It is an alarm that is telling everybody you need to. He sounded subdued. Now he said he's conceding. Let's see how he will concede. And let him roll back. There is no, it's not rocket science how to govern. Just deliver. They made promises before they take up power. But once they get there, they surround themselves with their families and then their lives. And then it's all about themselves, about their good lives, about good time, about traveling, buying jets, buying sophisticated, living, extravagant life. At the expense, meanwhile, you have poverty living side by side with opulence. It's not sustainable. The people will rise. It is only a matter of time. So this is a wake-up call for everybody that this is not going to be business as usual. The youth that don't have jobs, the youth too should also watch it, because it's not a question of how old, because some of them, when they get to power, they are not even showing any example. Everybody must watch it. When you present yourself for political office, you are there to serve people, not to be served. You have to, and you remember that you must be held accountable. The blood of those more than 20 people that died are now on the head of the Ruto family. So Ruto government. And please, that is not what it is. How many Africans will have to die before African leaders begin to govern? Let them lead. Let them not trample on the people. Let them not subject the people to inhumane treatment or treat them as if once they take their votes every now and then they discard them. No, they're not dispensable. It's about, leadership is about showing a way and leaving a legacy. What legacy? This will haunt will follow the Ruto administration. He was so critical of his former boss, Uhuru Kenyatta. Remember, he was the vice president, and then he broke out, and then to now become the president. People thought, well, they have a younger person in power. But here we are. How long has he stayed? So it is not we shouldn't wait for more Africans to die before African leaders begin to rule. In West Africa, this is a message that please let them govern. Let them. The people are crying. There is so much hardship. There is anger and hunger in the land. It has to be addressed. Don't tell them that you don't have, they should go for austerity. Don't tell them to tighten the belts when you are eating like a glutton. Don't tell them that there is austerity when they see you and your family living large. That is the contradiction that they cannot take. Yeah. It is only a matter of time, like I said, if something has to give. And, the Kenyans, they deserve commendation for what they have done. But that is what happens, that when a goat is pursued to the wall, it will kick. We shouldn't wait until we get to that level. And for I've already said enough about the standby force, because ECOWAS already has the standby force already there. Why is it not functioning? It is because of the same reason that is not functioning that will make this proposal, if they are using it to bring to go and fortify themselves or show up perpetuity or elongation of power. It is also not going to work. The money is not there. Let them channel funds to development, channel funds to helping, looking into the needs of the people, the social and economic projects, priorities. your hospitals, schools, food on the table. Food security is a crisis. I haven't seen them talk about it. Who can feed? The food, inflation has gone haywire. The common man cannot exist anymore. And you are talking about going to use money to go and buy weapons and then to deploy people so that they will go and fight unconstitutional change of government. When you know the cause, why don't you address the cause instead of looking at the symptoms? Whose are symptoms of bad governance?
All right. Thank you so much. Channel funds into development. Thank you so much, Paul Ejime, who is an international analyst, for joining us to speak to the Kenyan situation. You're watching Rise News. There's plenty more to come. And